What's up? Welcome to Mondays with Ryan. That's Ryan G. Hensley. I'm Grant L. Cohn. Title of today's show is Positives and Negatives surrounding the 2024 49ers. Ryan is making a concerted effort to be balanced. And I think it's commendable. And I would like to follow in his footsteps because I think he's being one hell of a leader in these 49ers content creator streets, which are getting contentious the last few weeks. I mean, geez, something could happen. So I want to take a page from Ryan and just, be balanced as much as possible. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I appreciate that. I feel like naturally I'm an optimistic person, pretty much with everything in life. When it comes to these Niners, it's been a lot of a disappointment. So I find myself dwelling in the negative. You could really look at this team and assess it both ways. You could focus on, and that's with everything in life, right? You could focus on the positives, or you could focus on the negatives. It's probably best to have a balanced approach, to be real. So that's what I'm going to try to do, because sometimes I'll catch myself either being too positive or too negative, and I would like to give the people the balance that they need in life.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of the more difficult teams to cover that I can remember because they're very, very good, but they're not champions yet. They may become champions, and then this 4 or 5 year period of them getting close but not getting all the way, we could look at it totally differently 5 years from now. It's possible 5 years from now they'll be 3-time Super Bowl champions, and we'll look at this period as them figuring it out or whatever. Or we could look back with an even more bitter look if they never win it and this was their best opportunity. So I think now we're sort of stuck in the middle of it. We don't know how it's going to go, and it's probably smart and fair to play it down the middle as much as possible, especially in May when they haven't lost a game in almost 4 months.
And, to go back to our conversation we had last Monday, it's, you don't want to be a complete homer either. And you don't want to act like the Niners can't do no wrong, because that's obviously not true. If it was, they'd have multiple Lombardis. So it's good to examine it from both sides.
Funny choice of word. Did you hear that the NFL completely screwed the 49ers on their schedule because they hate the 49ers and they clearly have a grudge against the Niners, as we've seen in the Super Bowl? I mean, it's just unreal at this point, man.
I hate that take too. Like, what benefit does the NFL have to sabotage the 49ers? How does that benefit the NFL to do that? It's not. It's just
they're sitting there like, you know what? We need to screw the Niners this year. They're really pissing us off over here in the league office. Like, I think it's just sort of manufactured outrage for, you could call that clickbait. How come people don't call it that clickbait? Manufactured outrage about rest.
Yeah, here's the thing. What are they ranked with that? Like 6th or something? So they're like, we're going to make it the 6th hardest. Not the hardest. We hate them, but we only hate them the 6th most out of all these teams. They're the 6th. They're the team we hate the 6th most in the NFL.
I think they're very positive. I think the NFL is as positive or more positive about the Niners than we are. And we're going to get into all the positives surrounding this team in a minute. But first, we need to sort of talk about the news. There isn't much, but there was an update from Jeremy Fowler yesterday saying the Niners and Brandon Ayuk remain not close on a contract extension. Doesn't seem like anything has changed. Do you sort of see this as business as usual, or is this a bad sign?
It's not a good sign. No, it could be business as usual, right? It's not good. It's not what you want to hear. It sounds like
no progress. That sounds like progress.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
no, it's definitely not a good sign. It could, they could end up working it out right before the season starts, like they have with multiple players, and that's entirely possible. Sounds like BA wants close to like $30 million, and Amon St. Brown, whatever,
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Thank you.
I'm a big Lions guy, as people realize. I'm such a hater that I know the Lions roster now.
I just bet he's gonna have over 1,200 yards this season. That's one of my season takes. Yeah,
easy.
Brock's only at 3,900. Love's only at 3,900. So I bet all those guys would go over. Yeah,
smart.
Yeah, but back to the point, man. It's like, it's not good. It's not a good sign that they're not close. Like, that's not what you want to hear. Talks have stalled, and again, could end up working out late, right before the season starts, like they have in the past. But the Niners have said, they're not against the 5th-year option. John Lynch said
Right.
those as a possibility. And honestly, like, I love Brandon Ayuk. He's one of my favorite 49ers on this team. Like, he does everything right. I'm one of the main guys saying, like, it's a mistake to trade to move off of BA. But from an organization standpoint, is it the end of the world if you franchise tag this guy? I don't know if it might be the smartest thing to do in the long run. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think their option this year was
5th year.
I think they would have traded him for a first round pick. So I think that's where they were. And I don't think they got that offer, although it seemed like maybe the Jaguars would. I don't think they got that offer. So they had to weigh, should they trade Ayuk for a second round pick this year or potentially make him play out his 5th-year option, franchise tag him next year, and then trade him for a second round pick next year. Like, I think that's the biggest reason he's still on the team, because they figured out you're not getting more from this year than next year. One way or another, you're getting a second round pick for him. So better to have him on the team for one last run to the Super Bowl. But that kind of does suggest, to your point, that they're going to be could be playing hardball with them. Like, look, yeah, we want you, but not at your price. And you don't like our price. So you know what? You get the 5th-year option. And if you don't like it, if you hold out into the season, we're prepared. We drafted 2 wide receivers this year, not just one. I mean, a team that drafts 2 wide receivers, including one in round 1, doesn't that seem like a team that's preparing to play hardball?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this was a Debo thing this whole time, but it sounds like it's both. Like,
It could be a both thing.
Yeah, they're both against both of them. Like, if we sign BA, this is Debo's replacement the following year. If we don't sign BA, he's BA's replacement. Which is crazy, man. Like, I love Brandon Ayuk. He does everything right. Everything from receiver in the offseason, how he handles himself, the way he practices. He's the best player on the damn field when he's practicing with the team. Like, he's amazing. I love him, but there has to be a limitation to what you're willing. And I think that's where the Niners are at. They probably have a number in their head, or not even in their head. They've communicated it to Brandon Ayuk and his agent. This is where we're at. They have a number in their head. This is where we're at. And it's not close enough for it to mean anything. Now, all that could change, right? As you head into the last week of the offseason, Brandon Ayuk could all of a sudden say, all right, I was just playing, let me get that money. Or the Niners are like, hey, man, we need BA. Let's go ahead and work this out. And I think a lot of time, I think that's why the Niners do. I've been trying to figure out, why do the Niners wait until the last second to extend their players? Because the price tag seems to be raised every time when they do that. They're raising the price tag on themselves. But I think what it is more for the 49ers is like, okay, let's see what we have in the rookies. Let's see what we have, like what other free agents are out there. Let's see where everything goes. Let's see how they're looking. And let's see if they are healthy. And then they finally make that decision at the end, what they're going to do. It wouldn't surprise me.
Theoretically, if Ricky Pearsall looks like Odell Beckham Jr. as a rookie, that changes how desperate they are to get a deal done, right?
Right. Or if he looks like
AJ Jenkins.
AJ Jenkins, then you're like, hey, BA, we kind of, we were joking. Here's your money, dude. Yeah. So I think has a lot to do with it, man. But it is, it's not good news. It's not like that's what you wanted to hear.
No, I mean, if you want him here long term, it just seems to me that maybe, it seems like people laid out both good arguments on both sides for why you had to keep him or why you couldn't extend him. Like, he's a great player. He's still improving. He can do almost everything that Justin Jefferson does. Yeah, that's all true. And the Niners don't use him nearly enough. They don't have enough targets. They run the ball a lot. They're never going to be able to get maximize his skill set or his contract. And that's true too. So maybe John Lynch, who's kind of good at listening to both sides and finding a middle ground, figured out that's all true. So you know what? Why don't we keep him one more year for $14 million? Like, that's a freaking bargain. And he'll have to play eventually. He might sit out for some games, but we'll be prepared for that. He'll be here for the playoffs and when it matters, and we may win the Super Bowl, and then he can go, and then we'll get our second round pick. Franchise tag him and trade him the way the Chiefs did with D Ford and L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to handle business in the NFL that benefits chemistry and doing the right thing, but it's a $1 billion business, and you have to make hard decisions sometimes, and sometimes the best decision may be to to string out a guy. I hate to say it in that way. Like, I think Brandon Ayuk deserves to get paid, and he's going to get paid one way or the other, whether it's this year on the Niners or on another team next year. But like sometimes from an ownership standpoint, you can't really be handing out $30 million contracts to everybody. You damn near did it with Debo. You done it with Bosa. You did it with Jimmy Garoppolo. That didn't work out. Now you're about to do it with, you did it with Armstead. That didn't really work out. Now you're about to do it with BA, and who knows what you're going to do with Brock Purdy, $50 million. So all this has to be taken into consideration, and they do have to be a little cutthroat from a business standpoint. It can't just be the family image that they try to portray out there. It's actually more business than anything else.
I actually think they're doing the right thing. Like, I was the one the whole time saying don't pay him. I love Brandon Ayuk. I thought it was a great draft pick. I think he's a great player. It doesn't make sense for this team as constructed to pay him, and they haven't yet. I said trade him, but when you think about it, if the best they could get is a second-round pick this year, then it's smarter to trade him for a second-round pick next year and keep him one more year, even if he's unhappy. I think, yeah, it'll be awkward. Like, do you really want a malcontent in your locker room? You'll have to weigh that, but maybe they feel that the leadership in the locker room and the coaching can work it out for 1 year and make it tenable for 1 year. We'll see.
Is there a way that this happens with Brock?
I was just about to ask that before we moved on, right?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they play the same type of hardball with Brock? Brock comes in, he's like, look, it's nothing personal, but this is the market, right? Like, Jared Goff got $52 million a year. I would like 55. And the Niners are like, Brock, we love you so much. You're a hell of a quarterback. We're offering you 35. I think you're really good. We're going to give you more money than Nick Bosa. You're going to be our highest paid player on the team. 55, not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you very much are a product of us, but you're great. So $35 million a year. We're $20 million a year off.
It's a little different quarterback. You can't have them holding out, but I don't know if Brock would, to be honest. I don't think he's the type of guy that would hold out. And I really think it's depending on what he does this season. If he plays just as well or better, I don't think they're going to lowball him. But if he has any kind of drop off, I could definitely see them playing that route. And that's probably the smart thing to do if he does drop off.
Why do you think Brock isn't the kind of guy who would hold out?
Well, I know that's a little naive.
Is it because he tucks his shirt in? It's because he tucks his shirt in.
Yeah, and he wears Jordache jeans. Actually, I don't know if they're Jordache.
With cowboy boots underneath.
I love Brock, man.
Yeah.
I could be naive in saying that, but he's a quarterback, right? So you can't, if you're sitting out, like, that's not a good
You're
look.
holding the team hostage. You're holding the team hostage. And you're like public enemy number one. You're the villain. You're the bad guy.
Yeah, that would change his whole everything. So I would imagine they'll work something out. Yeah. A lot of people are like, there's no way they pay Brock Purdy $50 million, but I actually think that's the number because $50 million is actually going to be a bargain next year. It's a lot for us as fans and people. A lot of people, he doesn't deserve 50. A lot of people think he does. But if they sign him for $50 million, that is a team friendly deal at this point next year because guys are going to be getting 60, right?
Ryan is doing the thing where he goes balanced now, and I'm just going to sit here and smile.
No, I'm just trying to think of it from a point. I always have thought of it from both perspectives. It's just sometimes I dwell on one thing, right? But I think there are multiple perspectives in every argument. Really, there really are. And I think it's good to think of both sides and kind of.
I agree, and we'll get into it right now. Let me say this in a calm way with a smile on my face. I think it's a bad idea for the Niners to give Brock Purdy $50 million a year. Yeah. But that's okay if they do, because you know what? That's life, and it's not my money, and I'm having a great day. It's sunny.
I think right now, giving him $50 million to me would be a mistake. But we'll see what he does this year. If he improves, and that's the thing. I think we're going to talk about it, but he has a real opportunity to even get better. And if he gets better than last year, then you could talk about it, man. Because he does.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too.
He does do all the things that you want. From a mental standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, he does all that shit, right? Like
he does.
That's what you want from a quarterback. It's it's the other things, and we'll see what happens this year, and I'll have a better understanding and determination of my view at that point. I won't always play the middle. I'm gonna have real opinions. I promise.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not playing the middle. It's just looking at things from both sides.
Yeah.
That's key. Dave Barclay says, "What up, guys? Ryan again. Halfway through my floors, Brandon, William, Bonnie, Buford, Blue, right next to me, just killing it. Patriot Builders of Montana is going to become Patriot Builders of America. Let's get after it. Thank you guys for doing this. $50 donation. That just really speaks to how well Patriot
The
Builders
business.
of Montana is doing. I mean, they're just
Well,
overflowing.
let me add on to how well they're doing. This man dropped a Ulysses S. Grant on me this morning as well. So
Oh
that's
my goodness.
on my show at Croc this morning, $50, and then he comes on here, drops $50. So if you need a builder in Montana, Patriot Builders is your guy. Hit up Dave.
That's right. That's right. Like, is Dave a friend of the show? Absolutely. Is Dave also paying for advertisement? Absolutely. Is Dave super duper smart? Absolutely. So Dave, shout out to Patriot Builders in Montana. We should just shout them out every show, just cause.
Yeah, love that guy. He put a poxy
Zach
floor on
Rivera.
this morning.
Is Jets Monday Night Football a positive statement? Tone said, I hope Niners energy didn't fall off from Super Bowl loss. Love the chain. Big money, Grant. Thanks. Is it a positive? Yeah, if they win, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing about that game, I'm picking the Niners to win it, but the Jets have a legit defense. And every time the Niners faced one of those last year, it didn't go so great.
I think it matters what Aaron Rodgers are we going to see. Aaron Rodgers is actually 6-3 against the Niners. He sucks against us in the playoffs, but if you see the MVP caliber Aaron Rodgers, I mean, it's gonna be tough off of Achilles. But if you see that mixed with that defense, game could be different than a lot of people are expecting.
Not to mention Breece Hall, who may be a top 5 running back in the NFL. I just don't know about their offensive line or their offensive coordinator. Silky Smooth Smither says it's a prove it year for Brock and the players.
Yeah, we're actually talking about that coming up. Yeah.
Joshua Wyatt says last 10 games of last season, Brock averaged 270 yards per game. That's a 5K pace. It's not that Brock isn't worth 50. It's that no quarterback except Mahomes is worth 50. There's something to that.
It's also on a scale though, right? Like, I don't think baseball players are worth what they get paid, but that's the market. So if you're a top quarterback in the NFL, that's what you get paid.
I think Josh Allen's worth 50. I think Burrow's worth 50. I think Lamar's worth it. I'm sorry, I don't think.
See, I look at it like percentage wise. Like, I don't even care what the number is. Like, tell me what the top 5 quarterbacks make, and I'll base everything else off of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever it is, because every year that's going to change.
If you took Brock Purdy off this team and put healthy Joe Burrow on the team, on the Niners, would they be better or worse?
They'd be better.
They'd be better. Okay. If you took Brock off the team and you put Josh Allen on the 49ers, would they be better or worse?
They'd be better.
They'd be better. Okay. And if you took Josh Allen off the Bills and you put Brock Purdy on the Bills, would they be better or worse?
They'd be worse. But
they'd be worse.
What if you put him on the Dolphins? What if you put Brock on the Dolphins?
I think they might be better.
Yeah.
I think they might be better. Yeah. I think he's a lot like Tua plus, a little bit more mobility and
a little more savage.
Tua might be a little bit more accurate, with maybe a quicker release, but I think I'll still take Purdy's skill set overall.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't pay Purdy Tua $50 million a year. Like,
I wouldn't.
Hell no.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's get into some positive stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is the positives and the negatives surrounding the 2024 49ers, and now we're going full positive. Starting with Purdy, full offseason Purdy. This is something we haven't seen yet. First offseason, he was third string, getting a couple of reps a day. Last offseason, he was coming off a major injury and on a pitch count, working sometimes. Now he's here.
Yeah, and he's running his first OTA starting today as the guy. Yeah, if you look at what Brock Purdy's been able to do, right? Coming on, being the last pick in the draft, and then end up going undefeated on this Niners team. Like, and we talk about like what we just talked about, Brock on another team, what would he look, blah, blah, blah. The reality is he's on this team, right? And this is a perfect system for Brock Purdy. So now you got a healthy Brock Purdy who looks like he's been lifting. He's been working on his mechanics to increase his throwing velocity, which is something that he thought was important. I know I got ripped for talking about it, along with every other NFL scout that ever existed talking about it. People, velocity is not important. Well, to Brock, it's important because he spent his offseason working on it. So that's good. If he improves his velocity a little bit, that's going to open things up for Brock. He has this. If you go back, though, and you look, he's the last pick in the draft. He steps in, goes undefeated as third string quarterback. That was remarkable. He stepped up to the challenge, right? Then the next, he gets hurt in an NFC championship game, UCL injury. I didn't even think he was going to be able to start week 1. He comes back way before that. You could tell his arm was bothering him a little bit, but he still did his thing, and he still had a tremendous season without any real offseason to work and improve his game. Now you go to Brock. He's heading into his 3rd season, and he has a healthy arm. He's bigger, stronger, faster. He's been working on his velocity. He has the full offseason to work with his receivers. He's already throwing to Ricky Pearsall. He's running the OTAs. Every time Brock Purdy has been challenged at the NFL level, he has risen to the challenge. So if you're looking at the history, and we'll talk about Kyle later, you look at Kyle's history, and that tells you one thing, right? It tells you Kyle's going to be good enough to get you there, but he's going to falter when it matters. But if you look at Brock Purdy's history, you see a kid that has always stepped up to the challenge and risen to the occasion. And so I think that could be a really good thing for the 49ers. It's possible Brock Purdy's better this year than he was last year.
That is really possible. And I'm like trying to play that out in my mind. Like, how would that look and improve Brock Purdy? Because what's interesting about him, it seems to me, he's not necessarily, I mean, he's obviously not the most gifted quarterback, but he's the most advanced. He's the most advanced young quarterback we've seen in a long time. I mean, he really plays the position like a vet. You can see all of his experience. And it seems like there isn't necessarily a lot more that he can improve upon mentally. Now, maybe he'll have like a firmer grasp of the playbook or whatever, but it seems like the mental part of the game, he sort of has as much as any quarterback in the league. But I do think he can improve, and I think what's going to be interesting, I don't know how much he can work on it in practice, because to me, and he mentioned it, but I think as a passer, he's already super advanced. He's already maximized his skill set. I think that he's leaving a little bit on the table as a runner. And you look at Mahomes. Mahomes is just scrambling a ton in the regular season, but in the playoffs he does. And they're like some of the most important plays of the game for the Chiefs. It's a lot of times why they win games. I mean, he ran for more than 60 yards in the Super Bowl. Brock, instead of scrambling 2, maybe 3 times a game, should be scrambling 4, maybe 5 times a game. Those are big plays. And I think if you were a little bit more decisive with that, the Niners would be impossible to stop. Almost impossible to stop on offense.
It's one of the 2 things he says. He says working on his arm strength, velocity, and his mobility. And to me, I thought his mobility was great. I just think he needed to decide to do it more. So, you know, maybe, but he's working on it. So to him, that's another thing. Here's a question, though, I wanted to ask you that I've been thinking about, and I should have warned you before the show that I was going to ask you this. But you're good, man. You're good at freestyler, anyways. You're like the Eminem of, I don't know.
Thanks. I'll just dye my hair yellow.
Yeah. So out of all the weaknesses that you think Brock Purdy may have, right? And they're not a lot mentally. There's some, some guys might say his placement or his accuracy can improve, but the real ones like that people talk about are, and there's a few different things, but some of them are his size. He's never going to get better. He's never going to get bigger, right? Some people say his arm or his hand size, which they think that's why he struggles in the rain. That's never really going to change, although he can practice on that. His arm velocity. He's never going to be Josh Allen, but he could improve that. Everything else that when we look at Brock Purdy, we want him to do this and this and this better. Those are things that he could actually improve with over time. The only thing he really can't improve, he can't be bigger, and he can't grow bigger hands. He can add velocity. If Brock Purdy adds velocity to his throws from what he's already done, like I question whether it was going to be good enough last year. It obviously was, but if he can add just a little bit to that, he's going to be really damn good out there. And there's not really much left to be desired. I don't think. I think there's a lot that he can improve. Everything that he needs to improve, he can improve outside of size and hand size. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think what's nice about Brock right now, like compare him to Tua. We were talking about Tua earlier. Similar system, similar like numbers, but Brock gives you that whole ability to roll him out to the left, which is kind of like you can't roll Tua out to the right and say Tua
Yeah.
make the throws. Can't do that.
Right.
Brock can do that. So there are little things about Brock that are unique and really nice. He throws with great anticipation. His release isn't the quickest. He doesn't have a strong arm, and it's not the most accurate arm, but he's really good. I do think we've seen him get in trouble against good defenses because he throws with anticipation and he throws with no velocity or very little. So ball's really hanging up there for a while. And if you know where it's going, it's catchable for defensive players too. So it really would help him to be able to throw the ball with a little bit more zip when he needs to. Otherwise, he's going to have games like the one against Baltimore where he throws 4 picks. It's just that kind of a day where we've seen him have days like that in practice, and it's like it didn't translate that much. The Niners have a great defense, and he doesn't face defenses like that every week, but sometimes he does, and he's had these performances where he throws a lot of picks. A little bit more velocity would help him. A couple more scrambles a game would help him. Teams are going to give you man-to-man coverage. You're going to see it a lot. So once you see all those DBs turning their back, if you have a scramble lane up the middle, take that shit. That's a 25-yard run, and that's going to make defenses think twice about playing man-to-man coverage. Like, they wanted to play man-to-man coverage against Kaepernick and the Niners, and he would go for 80 yards in the ground, and they'd be like, well, fuck. I guess we can't play that anymore.
Here's a question, though. Like, we were talking about paying Brock Purdy $50 million. What does he need to do this season for you to think, okay, this guy deserves $50 million? And out of those things,
CJ Stroud.
Well, after those things, after you go through, list out those things that you think he needs to do, are there any that you see as impossible for him to do?
I mean, I guess he would need to show that he's the kind of guy who could carry a team. I don't think he's that kind of guy. Like, he can maximize the team around him and maximize the game plan. But if Kyle loses his mind in a Super Bowl and starts going empty backfield or just not being his best, or McCaffrey fumbles, or Kittle's not locked in, or he's not going to put the team on his back. And I think that's sort of what you're paying for at that price point. And that's why Niner fans scoffed when the Lions extended Goff. Like, what the hell's he going to do? Like, are his numbers good? Is he statistically an elite quarterback? Sure, you can make the argument, but no one's scared of Jared Goff.
He's not going to put the team on his back.
No, he's not. But if the team's great, he might win a Super Bowl, maybe. And I think that's probably how I feel about Brock. And that's why I wouldn't. But this is the positive section. And what we're interested in is how much he can improve. I think most people expect that he will. He's not like Jimmy Garoppolo, who takes an offseason off. He comes back in OTAs looking like he hadn't been doing nothing.
Right. Yeah, he looks. You can see that he's been in the weight room, so that's a plus. I also think Brock he's going to be more confident. He's going to be more in command, and that's going to lead to me. That means more yards, more touchdowns, possibly more interceptions, and lower completion percentage, but overall a better quarterback. And I think you're right, though. Like, to justify the $50 million when it's 3rd and 4, 2 minutes left, fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, you find a way to get that first down. But that goes for Kyle too.
Yeah. I mean, people are being real gracious with Purdy because he doesn't make a lot of money. But if you're making $55 million a year or just 50, like, you could really attack certain things in his resume, like 3 of 12 on third down in the Super Bowl. That's not his fault. Whose fault is that? 3 of 12 for $55 million a year. Like, you can get real snarky with it. But for $900K, it's like, damn, he took the team to the Super Bowl. What the hell more do you want? Well, a lot more if he's making $55 million, 3 for 12, and like 89 quarterback rating. That's not getting it. That's not taking down Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's not that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo in the biggest stage. So yeah, he has a whole lot more he can prove. Like, go win a game where you throw 45 passes.
Well, before we move on from this one, I just want to ask you: better, same, or worse season for Brock Purdy? Or not even season. Better, same, or worse quarterback?
Oh, interesting. That's a different question.
Yeah.
Better quarterback, worse season.
Yeah.
I don't know how you can get a better season than last year. He led the league in like all the stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quarterback
I think he
rating,
can.
yards per attempt, yards per completion. I don't see that happening again.
I think he can be better this year for sure. I think he will be. If I had to bet money, I would say he's better this year. How much better? Is it enough to win a Super Bowl? I don't know, but I think he'll be better.
If McCaffrey misses a significant, I think he'll be better too. If McCaffrey misses significant time, which is something he did in the past after getting a ton of touches, will Purdy's numbers be better or worse?
I
I mean, they do
honestly,
have Garendo.
here's a controversial statement I'm about to say right now. Christian McCaffrey's great. I don't think the run game would struggle that much without him. I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't. I think
What will the pass game look like without him?
the pass game might struggle a little bit without him, but I think the run game would be pretty similar. I know Niners fans are going to kill me for that, but I think Elijah Mitchell could do the damn thing. Jordan Mason could do it. Maybe one of these rookies. I mean, the Niners have always had a good run game, no matter who their running back was. So, like, it's not like the 49ers just started getting good at running the ball when Christian McCaffrey came here. Let's be real here. Now, Christian will break some big ones, which is huge. But, like, on average, the average yards per carry is not that much different on a Christian McCaffrey as it was with Elijah Mitchell, if it was with Mostert. Like, they've always been pretty good.
It's true. It's true. All right, let's pause a little bit. Hold on. There you are. Hey, what's up, Ryan? We got picks to make. We got games tonight. Yeah. Indiana and Boston, Dallas. Well, Indiana and Boston's for tomorrow. I guess there's no games tonight. That's too bad. So let's do Indiana and Boston.
Did you watch
Jason Tatum?
Did you watch the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets yesterday?
That was nice.
I love it, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired
of Jokic walking around the court and being the best player. I'm a little tired.
Jokic reminds me of Duncan, where they're both amazing and they're great, but they're boring as hell to me.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. Anyway,
I want to see dudes with hops dunking on fools. I don't like this slow European style basketball. I hate to say that. My bad. All right, we'll move.
He's also like not in shape. At least Duncan was like in shape. So you're really telling me this guy who's like doesn't play defense? Duncan was like the best defensive player in the league. Jokic for sure isn't. Anyway, I don't want to talk.
They're fundamental guys, bro. They're fundamental guys, and fundamentals are key, especially as a coach. I love fundamentals, but from a fan's perspective, I don't want to just watch fundamentals.
That's fair. Okay, so game 1, Boston, Indiana, Jason Tatum, 28.5 points, game 1 in the finals.
I'm going to say over on this one. Game 1 he's going to come through and be impressive, but then when it matters most, he'll disappear. But game 1, I think Tatum will be over,
Okay. Tyrese Halliburton, 19.5 points. Hold on.
He's been hit or miss, seems like. Yeah, look at that. Like either. This is tough. Where's the game at? It's in Boston, right? Yeah, it's in Boston.
How about Miles Turner instead?
I would say under on Tatum. We always go over with everybody. We always pick our over. Let's
on Halliburton?
Let's go under on Halliburton.
Especially when 73% going more. Let's go less.
Yeah.
Less. Okay. What about Miles Turner, 16.5 points? Seems like a lot for him. Should we hate on him too?
Look at that mark.
92% of people think that he's going to get. 92% of people are definitely wrong on this one.
Yeah, let's go under.
Under.
Yeah, we're part of the 7.5%.
Hell they're talking about. Yeah, what? Okay. Drew Holiday, Al Horford, still in the league. Wow, that guy's old.
Yeah,
he's older than me.
Are we getting greedy here? Are we going more than 3? You like going hard. Sure. You like to go hard.
No, because I have a good track record of winning, so I just want to make it harder, more difficult because it's easy
challenge
to predict the future. Jaylen Brown, how about him? 24.5 points. 11 last game.
I would say under because we have Tatum going up above.
Yeah, and we're hating. Obi Toppin, Pascal Siakam.
What's Siakam looking like? What are we looking at?
20.5. Yeah, right.
What's his threes?
Let's see.
Be like a half. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah,
I would say over.
That's a savvy play from Ryan G. Hensley right there. Yeah. All right, let's view the entry. I'm putting down $10 to get 125.
There we go.
Feeling pretty confident about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,250% increase.
Oh, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
The math was tough. There, if you want to play, use promo code Cohn, COHN, to get the deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit.
Do you have season plays on this? Can we do season plays next week?
Maybe. I'll look.
I think you do.
Sure I do.
Yeah.
On the Sleeper app. Okay.
Yes, sir.
More positives for the 49ers this year. A lot of players in contract years or make it or break it years.
Yeah, so this is not necessarily a positive for 2025, but it could be a positive for 2024. I want to get your take on it. But these are all the guys. I'm going to list off some of the big names, not all of them, but some of the big names that are out of contract after this season. Brandon Ayuk, unless they work something out, we'll find out. Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw, Aaron Banks, Juwan Jennings, Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga, Elijah Mitchell, John Feliciano, Ambry Thomas, and Josh Dobbs. And then you got Trent Williams, Debo, George, Kyle. Those guys are old. They're still on contract. But out of the names I just said, Brandon Ayuk, Charvarius Ward, we'll see about BA. But let's say Charvarius Ward, Dre Greenlaw, Aaron Banks, Juwan Jennings, Diamador Lenore, Talanoa Hufanga, Elijah Mitchell, John Feliciano. We'll leave Ambry out of there. But that's 9 major players for the 49ers that are in a contract season. And you could honestly add Debo Samuel to that mix. Even though he's technically not out of contract, it is a contract year. There's no guaranteed money after this year. That makes 10. And then Brock Purdy, who we've been talking about, that's 11 dudes that are essentially playing for the bag this year. And all those dudes are starters. Every one of them do. Well, not Elijah, maybe not John, but that's like 11 major contributors to the 49ers that are in a contract year this season, which will mean in 2025, we're going to lose a lot of guys probably. But what it could mean for 2024 is that extra motivation to go out and earn that life-changing generational money for your family could play into the favor of the 49ers. Could be the X factor for this season.
It's interesting. I feel like the Niners, I agree with that. It's a great call. A little extra financial incentive never hurt. But I think the Niners for the last few years thought that the pursuit, what do they call it? The quest for six was enough. That like all these players would take a little bit less, or they'd be or you could just give them a 6-year contract or whatever, and they'd be happy and motivated to get that ring. And now it's like, well, we came up short again, and this time it may have been our coach's fault. May or may not have known the rules. You guys probably one of the best teams to ever to not win a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's all true. But now we're going to piss you off a little bit financially so that maybe you come in and give it a little bit more effort, because I think it's a good strategy. It'll work for Debo.
I mean, think about it, man. Let's be 100% honest here. If you ask Brandon Ayuk, do you want $30 million a year, $75 million guaranteed for 4 years? You get to choose. Or you play for the 14, 16, whatever you're owed, but you win a Super Bowl. Which one's more important to you? Ask any of these players. What's more important, $100 million or a Super Bowl ring? I think a lot of fans hope it's Super Bowl, but it's not. Like, ask yourself that, right? You're an NFL player. I'm talking to people watching. Would you care more about winning a Super Bowl or $100 million that's going to change the trajectory of your family for generations? If you're being honest, Super Bowl comes second to that. And now, we're not these 11 guys that I just mentioned. Yes, they won a Super Bowl, but that's secondary to they want to get paid, and all these guys are up to get paid, and that has to be some kind of motivation for these guys.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I just wonder if there was a certain amount of confidence that playing for Kyle Shanahan gave you. Like, we got this cheat code. He knows how to get us open. Like, as long as we do what he says, we will win the Super Bowl. And now it's like, well, I don't know if that's true anymore. Like, he's good, but he's got his own issues. It's pretty documented at this point. So you're gonna have to fire Steve Wilkes, hire our guys, and give me a little incentive. I don't know. Yeah. It just feels like this culture is changing. It used to be, it's a family. You know, they all love each other and they trust Kyle and they vacation together. And now it's like, yeah, this kind of might be the last year. And a lot of people kind of have one foot out the door, but while they're here, they might be able to make a little money. It's like, geez, like that's kind of cynical. But I guess that's what happens when you don't win the Super Bowl.
The reality is, man, it was never a family. Like that's the truth, right? Like that's the hype and the stuff you hear, and maybe they get along, they really love each other, and that's great. And it seems like that's true. They genuinely, a lot of these guys like each other, but it's always been a business. It's always about millions of dollars and what you're going to get paid, and that's what it's really always been about. That hasn't changed. Now, some of that illusion starts to go away after you keep failing at the very end. And then it's like, all right, man, like it's all about the Benjamins, baby. Wait, we shouldn't quote Puff Daddy right now. Let me take that back. Let me take that one back.
That's rough.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Yeah.
Piece of
Yeah.
POS. Yeah.
It's true.
But it is all about the money for these guys, first and foremost, if we're being honest and transparent. And then, not all about the money, but that's the priority. The money is the priority for professional athletes. They're going to go where the money is. That's what they care about. And then it's all right, I got paid. Let's win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I guess the only way this could backfire is if they start off slow and all of a sudden you got a bunch of players who are out for themselves and are frustrated and not taking ownership, and all of a sudden you have a team that sort of devours itself. But maybe they're like, look, we were tight knit the last few years. We gave everyone extensions. Everyone was freaking happy, and they were a little too happy. Maybe we need some people who are a little hungry, a little pissed off. Maybe that's a good thing. I think that's what you're getting at.
And you might have that. I mean, like, Debo could be pissed off right now. They were going to trade him, right? They were going to trade him up until the second round. They were considering it.
Content Debo. It's not that great.
And they drafted his replacement essentially, right? So you could have a pissed off Debo. You could also have a pissed off BA if he doesn't get his contract. So
BA is always pissed off though. So yeah, I think I would agree. He's perpetually pissed off.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I like that about him. But like,
he's salty.
So I mean, like you said, I don't think they're going to start slow though. The schedule's not very good in the beginning of this season for the 49ers, or difficult. They can win those games, but there is a different aura about the 49ers this coming in this year. A lot of these guys are older, a lot of guys in contract seasons. They've been through a lot together. They've been to the highest level and failed together. So it's different. It's a different type of season. It's going to be interesting because all these guys are free agents after this year.
All day, every day, Kim says, my bet Brock will be worse. Book it. Booked. I like when people say book it. Like, okay, well, I'm calling my bookie. I don't have one, but I'm booking it.
Things. Whenever someone says book it, this is going to happen. The other one is buckle your seatbelts. I've heard that one a lot. And there's never any reason to buckle your seatbelts. Like, I could have left my
buckle your seatbelts. I'm going to start saying that. Yeah. That's obnoxious. Raul Avalos says, Grant, you look like the actor playing the son from Hardcore Pawn, LOL. Pull his pick up and tell me I'm lying. Okay, I will later. A lot of people saying I look stupid. I've gotten a lot of people saying I look like Travis Kelce, which I'll take, but I probably look like a skinny, emaciated, like broke version of Travis Kelce without the mustache. But thank you.
I want to see. Now that I think about it, let's see. You got to grow out he has a beard, right? We need a beard.
Something like that, yeah.
I don't can tell by looking at you. I can tell by looking at your 5 o'clock shadow. You can grow a hell of a beard. Can we get bearded, Grant Cohn?
Maybe I need to, although all of a sudden I don't know what's happening, but I have this like big bald spot on my face and it's like growing every day and I don't know what's going on. And I think I need to go to the doctor.
I think we need a beard.
But that's like probably too much information.
Will you grow a beard if 49ers win a Super Bowl?
Sure. I guess that means I'm not growing a beard anytime soon. Yeah. Best roster. Okay, so another thing going in the Niners' favor is that they have the best roster in the league. Still. Or
close to it.
They did until about a month ago. What do you think? Do they still?
I think, honestly, the Lions have a really damn good roster. Especially because I focus on the trenches.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, who do you have on the O-line? Who do you have on the D-line? When I look at the O-line for the Lions, they're really, really damn good. So I don't think it's as clear cut as it was last year, but they definitely have one of the best rosters without doubt. Top 3, 4 for sure in the NFL. That's another reason to have confidence in this coming season. Even though a lot of these guys are going to be free agents after this coming season, they still have an elite roster. A lot of these guys are older, yes, but they still have one of the top 4 rosters in the NFL easily, if not the top 2. So that's another reason to have confidence that the 49ers have that still going for them, and it's still possible for them in 2024.
Yeah, they may have to drastically restructure their team next year, but right now they're still in the Brock Purdy rookie contract window. They still have a quarterback who puts up MVP-esque numbers for like nothing, for no money. So other teams have quarterbacks on rookie deals, but even those guys usually make more than Brock because they were first-round picks or second-round picks, and Brock was the last pick. So it's still a major advantage the Niners have, and they've maximized it at every position except one. And I don't know why they haven't gone there too. I'll never really understand why they are prejudiced against offensive linemen. And I don't understand why. But other than that, roster's phenomenal. Could be a little bit better. Still really good. Lions may have passed them. Chiefs too, man. The Chiefs, Xavier Worthy. I'm curious. I know Niner fans are excited about Ricky Pearsall. Xavier Worthy, to me, reminds me of Deshaun Jackson. And Andy Reid drafted Deshaun Jackson once. If he just did it again, Niners are the whole league's in trouble. Curious about that one. Yeah,
that's a dangerous combo. Yeah, you brought up the Chiefs. I wasn't even thinking about them. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
I mean,
somehow they're underrated as a team. It's like they could win
because everyone
another
just
Super Bowl this year. People be like, yeah, they got Mahomes. It's like, what? They just won 3 in a row.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what it is. Everybody just focuses on Mahomes being really good. Let me ask you a question, man. If the 49ers drafted the guys I wanted them to draft, which was last year, DeJuan Jones, right tackle, instead of a kicker. This year is Jackson Powers Johnson instead of the 4th receiver on the team, 3rd receiver on the team, Ricky Pearsall. If they would have drafted DeJuan Jones last year and Jackson Powers Johnson as center this year, and even Pooney this year, like keep those guys, they would have a top 5 offensive line, and there would be no better roster in the NFL to me outside of, I mean, we'll see what Brock is, but there's some really elite quarterbacks. But if you look at the whole overall team, they would have by far the best team in the NFL from a roster standpoint to me. And that's what always pisses me off when I think about it.
And I don't understand why they didn't draft DeJuan Jones. Like, yeah, he's 375 pounds, but he went to the Browns, who run your system, and then you just signed Chris Hubbard, who was on the Browns and got replaced by DeJuan Jones. So it seems like you missed on that one. Yeah, I would have to agree. You seem like a better general manager than Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, there's no doubt. Like Jed York hit me up. And here's the thing. Jackson Powers Johnson is going to be a dude. He will be a Pro Bowl center within the next 3 years. Mark my words. And the 49ers had an opportunity to draft him instead of Pearsall. And that would have sewed up the line for the 49ers. And here's another thing. You have a quarterback who's about to get paid and be your franchise guy. And you're going to have to get him a center at some point. You could have had it this year, and that could have been Brock's guy for the next 4 years. And he's way better than Jake Brendel. Right now he is. And so I just don't understand why they didn't. Those are the 2 moves I definitely would have made that I think would have made this team really, really damn good. But they still have a good roster.
They do. All day, every day. Kim says Harbaugh wins a chip before Kyle. Buckle your seatbelt. Buckle your seatbelt. That was a good use of the phrase buckle your seatbelt. All day, every day.
And book it.
And book it. Keith Murphy, the unbeaten, says, I like our schedule better this year. No AFC North. 3 out of our 4 losses last year were the NFC North. I don't count week 18 Rams. I think we should have some or better record than last year. Thoughts?
It's about health to me. And Niners were very healthy last year. One of the healthiest season under Kyle Shanahan was last year. If they can be healthy again this year, I think it's a similar season.
The problem is that the NFC is better than last year, and the NFC West is better than last year, and the Chiefs are on the schedule.
Yeah,
they got the Bills in Buffalo. Like, that sucks.
Yeah, Bills in Buffalo. There's a couple tough. They have a tougher schedule. I know you think the schedule's
Also, the
better,
rest
but
disadvantage. Did you see the rest disadvantage? I mean, that alone right there. How could they
yeah,
possibly win more than 9 games?
yeah. The NFC North they play
It's a good
very,
division. The
very
Bears
good
could be
division.
tough this year.
Bears could surprise a lot of people. NFC
The
West is better.
Vikings beat them last year without Justin Jefferson. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, and that's how you know it's a better schedule or it's a harder schedule. I disagree with you, brother, but I mean obviously, right? Because the NFL has it out against the Niners, so why would it be
week 1
easier?
against the Jets. That won't be easy. Okay, let's get into the negatives surrounding the 49ers in 2024. And it starts with the head coach.
Yeah,
This man had all the excuses forever, but now he's been to 3 Super Bowls as a coordinator, as a head coach. He's had leads in all of them, and he's found new and creative ways to squander those leads. And now I think it's hard for anyone who knows a little bit about ball to not look at him sideways and be like, man, are you ever going to be able to lead the best roster to the promised land? Can you
yeah.
do it?
So Jesse sent, I think all of us in the group chat, a video. I forget the guy's name on that video, but I watched it and I'm mad at Jesse for ruining my Monday morning because I try to be positive, like with the Niners, especially in the offseason. Brand new year, new start. Let's get
Mhm,
after it. You never know,
mhm,
unlimited
mhm.
possibilities. But in that video, man, that guy really laid out Kyle Shanahan's career as a head coach, particularly of the 49ers. And I give him credit. He and John Lynch have built a good team for the most part, outside of O-line, and we'll see on QB, right? And they kind of lucked into Brock Purdy. If he does become the franchise quarterback, that was luck. But in general, they're good at building teams. Kyle Shanahan is a very good play designer, and during the regular season, the guy eats. But in the playoffs, in situations where he had games in the bag, the first Super Bowl, 99 point something percent chance of winning that game, and he found that one
99.6.
and he found that 0.4%
He
way to
did.
lose it,
Mhm.
right? Then you go to the Rams in the NFC Championship. Again, 99 point something percent chance of winning that game. And he just
96.1
something like yeah, and
against
he
the Chiefs.
decided I'm gonna get away from what's working deep. So first of all, like, well, let me then he found a way to lose that game, right? Then last year, or this last season against the Chiefs, another situation where you have the lead
Yeah,
and you have the
96.
ability and you have a high probability of winning, and you found that small chance and way to lose. But like, let's talk about that real quick, Grant. The first Super Bowl, you go away from Mostert, who got you there, right? The NFC Championship game, you go away from Debo, who got you there and was dominating. I think he had one touch in the second half, something like that. Then you go this last season, you run the ball twice in the third quarter with Christian McCaffrey. Who got you there? You didn't barely pass to Brandon Ayuk, who got you there. Who was your leading receiver all season? You went away from him, and you went to Debo and targeted him hella times. Why do you keep going away from things that get them there? It blows my mind.
Yeah, because well, I have something to say about that. What's crazy about what Kyle does or what he has done, it's been with 3 different quarterbacks. Matt Ryan, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. Kind of the same results in all 3 games. Um, so you can't really blame the quarterback. Like, if a quarterback went to 3 Super Bowls and had leads and lost all of them, what would you say about that quarterback?
Right. Yeah.
What would you say? He's a choker.
Choker. Yeah.
He's a choker.
Kirk Cousins.
He's a choker. And it would be like, I don't care. Like, I can't play quarterback as well as him. I've seen him in 3 Super Bowls. He had leads. He lost them. He is a choker. I am willing to put that judgment on that man. People are less willing to say that about a coach for whatever reason. Maybe there's less evidence to judge it on, and he's not on the field, but all the evidence points to him being a choker.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Prove us wrong.
And it's not just us being negative, it's just the truth. I watched this
Yeah.
video. You guys, if you go to my channel and from the video I did today with Croc, I posted it in the comments. Go watch it after you're done watching Grant's show and my show and everybody, right? Go watch it.
Definitely
And
go watch that.
I promise you, you will walk away. Like, if you're being honest with yourself, you'll walk away like a little defeated and a little less confident that Kyle can actually get this thing done. Now, maybe he can, right? Like, there's no There's no law that says because he's done this 3 times already that he can't step up and do it this year or in the future. But based on his track record, like I talked about in the beginning of the show, Brock Purdy has a track record of overcoming and achieving and by like surpassing all expectation. That's Brock Purdy's record. Kyle Shanahan's record is getting you very far and falling apart when it counts the most. That's his track record. This isn't my opinion. That's an actual fact. And that does discourage me a little bit under Kyle. Again, maybe he can switch it up. I don't know, but that's the track record.
Yeah. I mean, I just think he's really good most of the year. And like when you talk about what makes Kyle Shanahan a good coach, you can explain. Andy Reid, his offense is flexible. He's very flexible. He evolves. Kyle's not. He's rigid, but he's very good at scheming up the outside zone running scheme, pairing it with the play action bootleg scheme, and getting guys open off play action. Like he's very efficient with his offense. That's what it looks like. When he's under pressure in the Super Bowl, like he loses it all. He abandons his run game. He starts leaning on his drop back passing game with a lead for no freaking reason. And then with the final play of the season for the Niners offense, 3rd and 4 from the 9, he goes empty backfield play action with Christian McCaffrey in jet sweep motion. Like you've never called that play all season, and it sucks. Like that's where Jimmy's right. Like that play sucks. You went play action on 3rd down. They're blitzing, man. What are you thinking? They're not going to react to that. So yeah, I mean, he can be the best, and then he can turn around and be the absolute worst when you need him to be himself. It's very strange.
Yeah. Invader 49er in the comments says 8-4 postseason record is the only track record that matters. How, dog? Like, what is it? How many Super Bowl wins has that 8-4 postseason record brought us? 0. That's what matters to me. Like, again, I'm going to give the benefit.
That's just cope. I feel. I mean, he's a Niner fan. I understand. That's just coping. 8-4 record. Cool,
man. Like, what does that give you, dude?
That's super dope.
That's nothing. That's nothing. Like,
I didn't even know that.
We haven't even run this. I'm going to be 45 years old. It's going to be 30 years since 49ers won the Super Bowl. 30. I don't give a shit about being the modern Bills. I don't want to be the modern day Bills. Okay, I don't want Marv Levy as my head coach. I want to win the Super Bowl, dude. So you can sit on that 8-4 postseason record all you want. That means nothing to me. That doesn't matter to me. I want to see you win the thing. And I've given the credit to Kyle. Kyle is a big part of the reason why the 49ers are relevant again and competitive again, and a big part of the reason why they have a good roster. But the track record shows you that he himself has cost us Super Bowls. Like his decision making has cost us Super Bowls. Like we wanted the third possession in overtime against the Chiefs. That's idiotic. You ran 2 times with Christian McCaffrey in the 3rd quarter. That's dumb. And so a lot of this is, yes, he's part of the reason why we're here, but he's also part of the reason why we didn't win the thing. And Grant is frozen on my screen. Is this me or Grant that's frozen? Can you guys let me know in the chat? Because I'm not sure which one of us is frozen. But that's my take, man. Like, okay, Grant's frozen. All right. So it's not – I'm live, right? Y'all see me? Grant will pop back in here in a second. So it's the Ryan G. Hensley show on Grant Cohn's channel, man. But to address him, man, I don't care about 8-4 postseason. There he is.
What's up? I'm back. How you doing? Sorry about that. It was I think that was the internet this time. I don't think it was my computer. I can't put it on the computer.
I was holding it down.
8-4. That's something to hang your hat on right there. Anoop says, we've had the best roster 5 out of 6 years. Niners won't make the Super Bowl in 24. I expect a young NFC team to rise like the T-Wolves did yesterday. KC to 3P. That's like Texas. Yeah, I feel that, man. It's like Houston Rockets fans like citing the playoff record of James Harden. Like, oh yeah, like who gives a damn now?
I could care less. I don't want to be the Houston Rockets. You know,
to me, like you only cite that if you're like, okay, wait a second, he's gonna win a Super Bowl this year. He's 8-4 in the playoffs. It's gonna happen this year. But to cite it as like, well, I mean, we should be happy. 8-4 is great. That's a good record. Like, you really gonna be happy with 8-4 if this is the closest they come?
So you're 66% in the postseason and 0-2 in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, what's the winning percentage in the Super Bowl? 0?
Great.
0. Yeah.
I don't care. Prove
Yeah.
me wrong. Prove me wrong.
I mean,
I'll let it be
honestly,
wrong.
yeah. All day, every day, Kim, how many teams would Kyle be fired from right now for all the stuff you just laid out? I say at least 30.
I don't think so. I think a lot of teams would like to be relevant, but that's not, I mean, Invader 49er likes being relevant. I don't like being relevant. I want to win a Super Bowl. Like, that's what I want. So depends on what your standards are. If you fire Kyle Shanahan, we hear it all the time. If you fire Kyle Shanahan, you get a job the next day. Absolutely 100% would. But it's sometimes, and I've never said to fire Kyle Shanahan. I've yet to say that. I still think he's a good coach, and I want to see it play out. But I wouldn't have been extending this guy like Jed York has been doing. Like, win the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's running out of excuses at this point. It was the coach. Excuse me, it was the quarterback. Now it's not the quarterback. He's got the best team. It's you. It's you. Vincent Campos says, would you guys ever do a show with that dude, Mandy? Even though Mandy talks hella shit and is super disrespectful, I think he's funny. I feel like he's as disrespectful to me and you as I am to Kyle and Jimmy Garoppolo. So,
Yeah.
game recognized game on that one. But I don't think he does live streaming. Does he?
So here's the thing. Like, I agree. I think what he's doing is smart. And I think he is a smart guy. I think he's funny, but he's extremely disrespectful. And
Yeah.
I've invited him on my show twice. No response. I don't think
He
he's
doesn't
made
want
for the
to.
live.
Yeah,
He's not a
doesn't want
live
to.
guy. He wants to be
Nah.
behind his recording.
Nah.
He wouldn't do it, but I would tell him, come on.
My things with Mandy, I think it adds to the funniness of it, but it's like he's not looking at the camera. It's up his nose and he's chewing gum. It's like three things I just can't stand, but it kind of just makes it adds to the aura of his.
I think it's funny. I think it's smart. Just don't call me out my name, and then because then you're reaching a different level of disrespect, and that's why I'm saying, hey man, if you're gonna call me an idiot, come on my show, sit here, and explain to me why you think I'm an idiot, and we can have a real conversation. I don't think he's about that life.
I don't think he's about that life either. Keith Murphy, I call him Kyle Philly Andy Reid Shanahan.
Kyle Philly Andy Reid Shanahan.
That's what when you mention like, well, it's been 8 years and he hasn't won a Super Bowl. Everyone says, well, neither did Andy Reid, and that proves that Kyle Shanahan is the next Andy Reid.
Dude, Kyle's a young coach. He is going to be coaching for at least 20 more years, I would imagine. He might win a Super Bowl at some point. I don't know if it's going to be with this team, with 49ers anytime soon on this contract. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins a Super Bowl at some point. But if you look at the history, he's cost us a couple Super Bowls.
Honestly, it would surprise me if he wins a Super Bowl at this point.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
it would. I mean, with Andy Reid and Philly, it was like, okay, you didn't win one, but it's like your quarterback was Donovan McNabb. Like, he was good, but he wasn't great at any point. He was never great.
Was he ever better than Brock?
Better runner than Brock. He wasn't particularly.
He's a Pro Bowler, right?
Accurate. Like, let's go back and look at Donovan McNabb's numbers real quick. Like, his completion percentage.
I think he's going to be coaching a long time. He's kind of like
his career completion percentage. Donovan McNabb was 59. I never thought he was a playmaker. He was a good quarterback. But like, I thought that was a lot of Andy Reid getting the most. Who else would have had success with? Who didn't have success with Donovan McNabb? Kyle Shanahan.
Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah. I think that was kind of a testament to Reid.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's possible because he's good at a lot of things, and the things that he's missing, maybe he learns at age. He's my age. It's hard to learn new things, but maybe he can. I still do from time to time. And if he gets the right people around him, or if he just gets an elite quarterback that just makes up for some of the things he does, I think it's possible because he's going to be coaching for a long time. And so I wouldn't say he can't do it. It's just hasn't done it yet.
I'm learning how to golf at 36.
Right.
Birdie.
I heard that. Birdman.
Yeah, Birdman.
That's good, dude.
Had a birdie on Saturday.
Not to one up you here, bro, but I got an eagle once. I'm just saying. Just saying.
One up me, man. I'm not that good at golf. It's my third time. I've been playing the 9-hole course at Monarch Bay because you don't have to really hit a driver very much there, and I'm more
Yeah.
comfortable with my irons at this point. So, had the first hole, it was a par 3. Had the 8-iron, of course, really stuck it on the green about 10 feet away.
Stuck
But
it
then
on
I
the
had to
green.
convert, and of course, I could have pulled a Kyle Shanahan, but I didn't.
I actually really like the wording. You're using a lot of golf terms right now, and
Thanks.
it's
Well, I've been
impressive.
golfing for a solid month now, so I know all the jargon and
You
watched
know
a
who
lot
else
of videos on YouTube.
Croc just started golfing too. You guys are at the same spot. You guys should get together.
Yeah, I saw him mention that he got his first par. It pissed me off. So I went and got a birdie just to one up him. Fuck you, Croc.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I always feel super competitive with Croc, which is stupid because he's like literally a professional athlete, and I was like a JV athlete. No, I'm going to give myself some credit. I was varsity in soccer and track, but he was a professional athlete. I wasn't even a college athlete, but I need to be better at golf than Croc, so I'm working hard.
You guys should link up. When I was 28, I was a regional manager for this company, and my boss was an avid golfer, and I was on salary, and he would literally take me golfing. I didn't start till I was 28, but like 3 days a week, I'm golfing all day long on salary. It was the best shit ever. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a independent contractor, and technically, I think you can write it off.
Business.
Yeah, if you're like talking business with people and stuff. So I haven't gotten that deep in yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, man. Let's do business. Golf on you.
Let's do business. Let's talk the future of content creation. Okay, let's talk more negativity with the Niners, or at least things that they should be concerned about.
Yeah, the transition was great.
Thanks. Aging vets, they have a lot of them.
Yeah. This season, we could say that the most important player on this team for years has been Trent Williams.
Yep.
Who is what now? 36?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Yeah, Trent Williams.
He's going to be 36 in July, so almost.
To me, Trent Williams might be the most important player on this team because this offensive line is not very good. Aaron Banks is decent. I give him like a B grade. Trent Williams is a Hall of Famer. When Trent Williams goes down, this offensive line goes from middle of the pack to bottom of the league, and he's going to be 36. I cannot imagine. He's obviously a different species. I mean, like he's a freaking machine. But I can't imagine playing professional football at age 36. Now these guys train for it. He's been doing it his whole life. It's natural for him. But what does he play? 10 games? He misses at least 3 games every year now? Something like that?
I wrote an article about this before we did the show, and he's missed 9 games in 4 years with the Niners. So not a ton. They're 3-6 without him. It's a really good team, and they're 3-6 without him. Seems like, I mean, they might be better off. Like, they might be able to do better with Josh Dobbs. Like, they could probably replace their quarterback, their wide receivers, their running backs, but the left tackle, once he's out, you go from Trent Williams to Jalen Moore.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
That's a huge difference. Yeah. Now it's like you can't. You have no one good in pass protection on your line, and you can't run left or right. Like you can't do anything on offense. Really,
which is another reason I was screaming from the top of my lungs that we need to invest in a tackle, right? Because of the Trey Lance trade, we lost 3 first-round draft picks. Couldn't draft a tackle out of those 3. You got to draft this left tackle in the first round, or you got to sign a free agent. That's the only way you're going to find a left tackle, a really good one. Most times you might get lucky. It's very rare. And the 49ers just wasted the 3 picks on Trey. And then the last 2 drafts, they didn't spend another one. They could have drafted Juwan Jones on the right tackle. They could have moved up and got that guy. They have not invested in a tackle. And you got Trent Williams getting older and Colt McKivitz on a 2-year contract. Like, this is going to bite them in the butt at some point now.
What's crazy is they traded up for Trey Lance, and I think everyone at the time was kind of scratching their head, like, who do you take here? Are any of these quarterbacks really worth that trade up? And the answer was no, none of the quarterbacks were worth that trade up. But Penei Sewell was. My goodness. And at the time, like because they traded up, and I want to say March, and then they made the pick like a month and a half later. So there was all this discussion about who should they take. And if anyone ever suggested a player who wasn't a quarterback, it was like, be serious. You can't trade up for a non-quarterback there. It's like, in retrospect, you have to trade up for a great player, and the great player available was either him or Jamar Chase, and they passed on both. That's rough.
I'm good on man. Penei Sewell would have been the answer, man.
Whew.
Even if they spent all 3 of their first round draft picks, was to end up trading away for Trey Lance, it would have been better to spend all of those on Penei Sewell
On a
than it would have
franchise
been.
tackle?
Yeah, better than a guy who's on the Cowboys right now, right?
Better
Like,
than a guy you flip for a 4th round pick 2 years later.
yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
aging vets is a problem for the 49ers. It's not only Trent. Trent is a big deal. He's the best player on the team, and he's getting older. And if he either retires or gets injured, knocked on wood, the Niners are screwed. And then you got guys, Deebo Samuel. I think we've seen the peak from Deebo Samuel. Hey, maybe again, like we talked about earlier, he's motivated by all this, and he comes out and we see the best Deebo Samuel we've ever seen. But if I had to guess, I think we saw the peak from Deebo Samuel. That's my best guess. I think we've seen the peak from George Kittle. George Kittle's, he might be the same, but is he getting better? No. So he's reached his peak. He's getting older. And then Kyle Juszczyk as well. To me, he didn't look quite as good last year as he has been in previous years. So you're talking about all of these guys have already peaked, and they're either going to be the same or worse in this coming season.
And there's one more guy who's not necessarily aging and he hasn't necessarily peaked, but like, are we going to get a bounce back year from Bosa? And not to say last year was bad. It was excellent. I'm not even going to say it was good, but he's paid to be the best. Is he still that? Because he really wasn't the best last year.
I think
one of the good ones
was what we saw from Deebo, just because of the way and hopefully this isn't what happens to Brandon Ayuk, but because of the way the contract negotiations worked out, and he was able to join the team so late in the season, I think that's what the effect we saw from Nick Bosa, like we saw from Deebo. The same thing happened to him. I hope we don't see that from Brandon Ayuk, but I could see Nick Bosa getting back, maybe not to what we saw from him before his contract, but he'll improve. I would expect an improved Nick Bosa this coming season, hopefully.
One more thing, we were talking about Trey Lance, and they traded all that. You know who they ended up drafting with the Trey Lance pick?
Yes. Who was it? Malik? My guy. I love Malik Mustafa.
So they could have had Penei Sewell, but instead they got Malik Mustafa, who may end up being great. Yeah. But it's funny, like you have to take a quarterback. Yeah, that quarterback's going to turn into a backup safety in 2 years. So make sure you just had a great player when you make that, or just don't make that trade ever again. Don't do it.
Don't ever do that.
Don't ever do that again.
No. Hopefully they learn their lesson. Yeah.
John.
I mean, someone asked earlier about getting fired. I think teams are more likely to fire you because of that than anything else Kyle's done. Like trading away 3 first-round draft picks for a quarterback who doesn't even get an opportunity to play for you, and you trade him away for a 4th. That's more fireable than anything else, to be honest.
Yeah. And again, if Brock Purdy didn't exist, they'd be fired.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It's kind of a weird dynamic in the team. Like Brock is he's keeping the whole thing together.
Another reason to give that guy some money, to be real. And here's the other thing. Quarterbacks, players, sometimes they really do get paid for what they've done, not what they're going to do, right? And he's already done quite a bit for minimum wage. So maybe
do you think Brock Purdy's agent will play that card if things get contentious and negotiating? Like, look, I don't want to bring this up, but since you're lowballing my client, like you, Kyle, wouldn't have a job right now if it weren't for my client. Like, do we need to talk about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah. That was your plan.
If he's a good agent, he will. Yeah. Yeah.
I would. All right, last thing that's working against the Niners this year. The league is better. The Chiefs are better. The Lions and Eagles are better. The conference is clearly better, and the division is only getting better. Seems like last year was a down year and a great opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and this year will be tougher.
Yeah. There's my favorite quarterback of all time. I think he's yours as well. Stephen Young.
Steven. We call him Steven. Yeah.
We call him Stephen Young.
Yeah.
My guy, Steven, said the exact same thing. And so, I know a lot of people like to come
I call him John.
You do? Okay.
That's his first name. Steve's his middle name.
I didn't know that.
John Stephen Young.
Jonathan?
Hey, John.
Or John?
Jon.
John
Jon.
Young.
Yep.
I know a lot of people get mad when we bring this up, and a lot of people just want positives, but the reality is Steve Young my favorite quarterback of all time, said the exact same thing, that the 49ers kind of basically they blew their opportunity because they can absolutely win a Super Bowl this year. It's definitely possible. But last year was by far their best opportunity, given the roster that the 49ers had. But more importantly, and how it pertains to this subject, is the league was just weak last year, and especially in the NFC. The Chiefs are the weakest that we've seen them. They're going to be better this year. The NFC was weaker than it is this year, than it's going to be this year. Lions are better, Packers are better, NFC West is better. Their schedule is tough. This is going to be a harder year for the 49ers to achieve what was in their grasp last year. And so that's another reason why to be a little
You got to
pessimistic.
understand the context that Steve is coming from. Like, he was with the Niners when they didn't lose Super Bowls. When they got to the Super Bowl, they didn't miss the opportunity. And I think what they understand is, even if you win the Super Bowl, you're likely not going back anytime soon. It's really hard to get to the Super Bowl. Not only do you have to be the best team, but you need some luck along the way. And the Niners were the best team last year, and you could argue they shouldn't have won any of their playoff games. Like, they needed luck to beat Green Bay. They needed luck to beat Detroit, and they got it. And they got to face an inferior team in the playoffs. Everyone thought in the Super Bowl, everyone thought was going to lose. Everyone picked one around here picked the Niners. They were the favorites, 2-point favorites, and they lost again. Man, I don't know where I was going with that. That happened.
They blew their opportunity. That's where you were going with that. And
That's right. They blew their opportunity.
And it's a harder league now than it was last year. It's going to be.
What I wanted to say was, like, from Steve's perspective, even those great Niner teams, like, they only went to back-to-back Super Bowls once. They won 81, they won 84, 88, 89, and then they had to wait another 5 years before they went back in 94. Like, it takes a while, and sometimes you feel you have a great team, and it just doesn't go your way. So that's why it's really, really advisable to win the Super Bowl when you get there. That's my advice.
It's your advice.
Yeah.
Statistically, like, if you look at the numbers, the 49ers are not likely to even get back to the Super Bowl this year.
No. How many teams that lost the Super Bowl went back the next year?
I don't know the numbers, but it's not good. I know it's not.
How many teams that lost Super Bowl went back and won the next year? Like 1 or 2? I think the Cowboys did it in like the 70s, and the Patriots did it. So
yeah,
okay,
like 2. It's just not very likely, and that's why it was so disappointing. And why I get mad at the missed opportunities. It just didn't seem like we were prepared. It seemed like we were outcoached in the last 3 playoff games for the 49ers last season. And it's just because we were a better team that we ended up beating Detroit, and a better team because we ended up beating Packers. But I think they were outcoaching us, and I think the Chiefs outcoached us. And that's why watch the video that's in the link in my video I did this morning, and then tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. And again, that brings us back to our initial topic with the downside of the 2024 49ers. Like, all eyes on Kyle Shanahan, man. Like, you're good, but you got outcoached in all 3 playoff games. Like, you've had 2 Super Bowl runs with the Niners. The first one, you put it all on Jimmy. Like, he didn't play that well against the Vikings. You didn't call many passes against the Packers. And then you scapegoated him for the loss. In the Super Bowl, even though you're the one who decided to put the freaking game in his hands with the lead in the 4th quarter, that was on you. This year, you can't scapegoat Brock. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He couldn't overcome you, but you were the problem. You were outcoached by LaFleur, Dan Campbell, Steve Spagnuolo, Andy Reid, and everyone knows it, including your players. That's the problem.
That's the truth, man. I know, like, you come to Grant Cohn's show, you're gonna get truth, man. Like, his honest opinions, and it's true. I mean, people don't want to hear that, what you just said, as Niner fans. You don't want to hear that shit, but it's hard to say that that's not the case. I mean, you could throw out 8-4 records in the postseason to justify yourself, but there's also the reality of what happened. And even Steve Young, my favorite quarterback of all time, agrees.
Yeah. Because, again, 4 years ago, why didn't the Niners win a Super Bowl? Oh, it was Jimmy's fault. But he's young, and maybe he'll improve. Like, that was the whole thing. Well, why didn't they win it this year? Well, Mahomes is great. Yeah. But that's not really the reason. Like, the reason is because Kyle couldn't get it done. this time.
Mahomes didn't play defense against the 49ers.
No.
Right.
Last Second Sports says Kyle being 8-4 in the playoffs is like Grant's computer. It works most of the time, but when he needs it most.
Oh, shit. Damn.
That is true. Who's calling me? Someone from Chicago. Someone I don't know.
Caleb Williams.
And I have to not answer that call. Joe Crowell says, huh?
It's Caleb Williams. You heard what you said last Monday.
It's like, it's true. I said he might be good. Joe Crowell says this team being able to tiptoe around the health of a left tackle whose bones are about to turn to powder is incredible. The luck won't hold out forever. Last year was the year. Yikes. If he misses 6 games this year, the Niners are in trouble because they'll likely lose 4 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or, yeah. 808 Niner says, I think Kyle Shanahan has a lot of flaws and is a terrible game manager, but if Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't overthrow Sanders and if Brock Purdy just throws the ball to Brandon Ayuk on the slant on the final drive of regulation, we have 2 Super Bowls.
808, you are my guy, brother. But if you go back, I'm telling you, watch the video Jesse sent me. I posted it in the link in the comments of the show I did this morning. If you watch that video, start at like what it was, 28 minutes. I don't know. Watch that video towards the end. He breaks down all the mistakes that were made way before it even got to that point that were on Kyle. Also,
like, I remember the play you're talking about. The Niners were mic'd up in that game. And Kyle Shanahan, you can hear him on that play when Brock's dropping back. Shanahan saying, Christian. Throw to Christian. Well, he wasn't open. And that wouldn't have converted the first down. And so Kyle wanted him to go one way. Brock went another way. And yeah, Ayuk was open, but he wasn't being coached to go there. Like, it was a blitz. There was an unblocked rusher. They had to make a split-second decision. That was the story.
I like 808 Niner. You know, I like you. You're my guy, man. And this isn't directly towards you, but like, there were so many mistakes before that made it even close. It shouldn't have even been close. Had Kyle stuck to what was working for him in the season, and all of the NFC Championship game, both Super Bowl losses. If he would have just stuck what was working for him in the first half or throughout the season, they're not even in the position to have to do those things.
Dave Barclay says, epoxy done. You guys kept me going. Thank you. You're welcome. Anoop says it's not all on Kyle Bananahan's Jed 10-man 8 Lombardi worthy. The Niners window is put after 4th and 1. Bosa chasing ghosts instead of Mahomes.
Chasing ghosts. So Bosa's
that's crazy too. Like, again, when the Niners had to have these first downs with the game on the line, they had these incomplete passes. When the Chiefs had to have it, it was like Mahomes just like, you know what? I'll just run for it. Andy, great coach, great play call. Love what you did there. I'm just going to run for the first. Is that okay? I'm going to run for the first down. I run a 4.8. I'm going to run for the first down.
Here's the thing.
And it works.
I will be more willing to put like a play here or there on the players. I'll be able to give more blame to the players here and there. If the game is called well throughout, like if Kyle Shanahan called a 95% good game, then I'll be with you. Like, let's talk about the players. There's only one little mistake Kyle Shanahan made. Then let's talk about the players' mistakes. But there's a lot of mistakes that Kyle Shanahan made to put them in that situation in the first place. And he's the head coach. I got to put it on him.
He wasn't helping. Matt McEwen says Purdy even said he should have thrown a BA more in the Super Bowl. Okay. Yeah, he should have passed the ball more to Ayuk in the Super Bowl. What do you think of the way he was passing Bud Lights to George Kittle at the Luke Combs concert?
Yeah.
The form, the dedication, the focus.
Yeah.
He didn't even drink any. He was just on stage passing Bud Lights to George so George could have a moment. If that's not leadership, selfless behavior, I mean, honestly, why was he out on the stage? Like, why did he do that?
People wanted it. It's for the people.
It seemed like Kittle wanted it.
Oh, he for sure wanted it.
How do you think Kittle sold that to Brock? Hey, do you want to go on stage with me? Sounds great. Me and you on stage. Okay, I'm going to drink beers. You pass them to me. Why don't you just... Do I have to pass them?
I'm going to do my Stone Cold Steve Austin impression out here.
And you'll be my helper.
Be my helper, yeah.
Yeah, I think Brock needs to realize that he needs to stop doing that. That's
And
why
it's
people
not
call
him.
you a game manager, man. Like, you're the star of the team. You can't be passing Bud Lights to the tight end who had 4 yards in the Super Bowl. First of all, people don't forget that you had 4 yards in the Super Bowl, George. You probably shouldn't be shotgunning 4 Bud Lights. I mean, was that for one for each yard you had in the Super Bowl? I'm just saying, like, what are you celebrating? I'm just saying. I think the whole thing was kind of a silly look. Also, country music.
He's appeasing. There's a big part of our fan base, Niners fan base, and all football fan bases. They like NASCAR. They like country music. They like wrestling and pounding
I'm
beers.
not good at appealing to the entire Niners fan base. Have you noticed that? Country
I
music?
mean, I'm not. Hey, Chris Stapleton is my guy, but outside of that, I'm
Look
not a
at
big
you.
country fan. Chris Stapleton is dope.
Nick Newman, who knows all the rap songs, was at the concert singing all the Luke Combs songs, and I just felt like I didn't even know Nick Newman anymore. Like, what? He knew the words.
Chris, I don't know any countries, but I do listen to Chris Stapleton. If you guys, I don't like country music very often, but Chris Stapleton, it goes beyond a genre. He's very talented. I like.
Here's
that
my
guy,
thing
but
with country music. Like, I don't know the songs or the words to any of the songs, but I do. Like, the song come on and be like, oh, he's going to talk about his tractor and his dog and his pickup and his girl. All in the they're going to get in the pickup, and then they're going to go to the barn where the tractor is, and they're going to get on the tractor, and they may have a cold beer. It's like, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
And you could say the same thing about rap, right? There's only so much leeway you get in rap. You have to sort of mention the same things in every song. But I just think it's more fun to talk about cars and guns than tractors and dogs. I'm sorry.
There's exceptions and there's greats, right? Like Kendrick surpasses the general basic what you're going to hear in a rap song. Chris, I'm telling you, Grant, you don't listen to any country. I don't really either, but do you listen to Chris Stapleton?
No.
Go listen.
Yeah, I've heard a couple songs. He was that with the whiskey, the Tennessee whiskey. Is that him?
Yeah.
What a song,
man. He's really good.
No, sometimes I just pour myself a bubble bath, put on a little Chris Stapleton, and I just, unwind. It's nice. It's really nice.
He's in my playlist. He's the only country singer in my playlist, man. I like him. Yeah. Diversity, Grant. Expand your horizons. Jazz. Little jazz is good too.
Jazz is so boring.
I get in the vibe like where I just want to listen to jazz.
If I'm listening to jazz, I'll get bored immediately. But sometimes it'll be like little parts, like, oh, they should sample that and put it in a rap song. Then I'd like
it. Yeah.
Like that's what rap really redeemed jazz. I feel like jazz would be just a terrible genre. Like what? What did they say in The Office? Like, stop playing so many notes.
Jazz is a vibe, man. But growing up, I only listened to rap and R&B. That's it. But as I got older, I started listening to more and more genres, and I'm telling you, man.
Check this out. This was me in middle school wearing my AFI East Bay Hardcore shirt. I was a punk rocker back in the day. Look at that. Look at the hair too.
What a cute kid.
Oh yeah. Little did people know that I would grow up to freaking terrorize Kyle Shanahan. You wouldn't think that face, but I'm
you
scheming,
actually
man.
Look like Kyle Shanahan right there. Actually, like, you really do. That could be Kyle Shanahan. That could be Kyle Shanahan's childhood picture right there.
It might be.
Wait a minute, something's going on.
I'm telling you. Have you ever seen us in the same room? Really?
No.
Matt McEwen says he wears his sunglasses at night. That was Brock last night. 2 nights ago. 808 Niners says Kyle Shanahan's a finished product. He does learn from his mistakes and doesn't grow. But if 2 plays go differently, we aren't even having this conversation.
I'd be having the conversation how his players overcame some bad play calling. But you're right, 808.
Is that Kyle's legacy that he would have been a champion if a couple plays went differently? Like,
yeah,
that's no legacy I want. I want the legacy of I stream in my bedroom with blazer on and a t-shirt and a gold chain and shorts. That is the peak.
Can we see it? I'm just asking. Can we see it? Can we see? Like, I think the people need to see what's going on right here. Yeah.
Right.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just a little too formal,
I'm wearing Crocs right now.
And not the same color Crocs.
They're 2 different color Crocs right now.
2 different color Crocs.
Yeah.
The Niners would have won that Super Bowl if Greenlaw didn't go down and D'Amico Ryans said as much. Yeah, but he did. He did, though.
Yeah.
That's football. Like, there's injuries. It's a war of attrition. The Niners lost the war of attrition.
That Texans-Lions Super Bowl is going to be fun to watch this year.
What if Charles Omenihu hadn't gotten injured in the previous game? The Chiefs would have been better.
What if was a fifth?
If the Niners were completely healthy and had no injuries, they would have won. Well, that's not realistic.
Yeah.
Anyway, this was definitely a positive show. I did my best to bring it down to my level, but you kept it at yours, and I appreciate that.
That's a great show.
Ended with a short show.
Yeah.
And that's it. Make sure you like and subscribe to me and to Ryan.
Sure.
And go have a great day.
Please.
Be safe.